in general, we have to be low entropy beings in a very high entropy world. As we've mentioned here earlier, the general level of consciousness quality is pretty low. There's a lot of fear and greed and nastiness and self-centeredness out in the world. But you have to live in that world. Staying locked up in your home, or never going out, never actually becoming a part of that world, is not good. You need to go out, interface, interact, connect with the world. You need to embrace that world, but you need to embrace it positively. You need to find what's positive there and interact with that and let the negative go. You need to not have negative attitudes toward those people who are being self-centered and part of the problem. They're doing the best they can with what they've got. That's just the way they are. They got a low quality of consciousness, and they're going to make poor choices. And you can't lecture them. You can't change them. Explaining to them why you're right and they're wrong, or just start an argument, that's not going to help. You just have to be positive. Interact with what you can interact with and let the rest alone. And if you learn that lesson, then you can be a happy person, even when you live in a very dysfunctional world or even a dysfunctional family. You can still be positive, and you can still find happiness and good things. You let the dysfunction be. You don't take it on personally. If a dysfunctional person comes and fusses at you or complains about you or tells you how wrong you are, you don't get upset. You don't get angry. You just let that be. That's their opinion. That's okay. That's the way they are. If there's something positive that you can relate to them with, then you do the positive thing. Just let the negative stuff lie on the floor. If there's nothing positive that you can do, well, then excuse yourself and go somewhere else. So that's in general. How do you deal with negativity in the world outside of you? You don't deal with it by staying away from it, because it's so ubiquitous, you can't stay away from it. It's there. And if you take it on personally, it will irritate you, upset you, make you angry, and now you're part of the problem. As soon as you get upset and angry, you move from part of the solution to part of the problem. So you just have to learn to let it go, accept people as they are, deal with them as best you can, and keep yourself positive. And you see, you can be happy in a dysfunctional world or even in a dysfunctional family. It'll take some work. It'd be a lot easier to be happy in a very functional family, but if that's not what you've got, then you make the best of what you do have. Leave it when you can, work with it as much as you can, but interact with it. When I say leave it, I mean, if you've got something that's just dysfunctional you need to walk away from it. But don't get angry. Just extract yourself. Excuse me, I've got somebody else I have to talk to. I need to do something else. You do it politely. So that's the general answer. More specifically, I would say that if you're working in an environment where people are asking you to do things that are unethical, wrong, hurt other people, take advantage of other people. If they're asking you to do things that are unethical, then you need to start looking for another job or another situation. It's not a good excuse to say, well, they asked me to do it, that's why I did it. If you're in a situation where they're asking you to do unethical things, then you don't have to immediately, slam the door and run home, because you may still have bills to pay and, a mortgage and gas in the car. So you may just start looking for another job. And you may tell your employer, I don't feel very comfortable doing that. Well, that means you're not going to get very far in that company, but you're looking to leave anyway. You don't care whether that's where they think you're not going to get that far in that company. And eventually you find something else to do and you leave. So if you're with people who are encouraging you to do things that you know are hurtful or wrong, then find a way out of it as quickly as you can within reason. That's important. If they're not asking you to do things that are wrong, they're just being self-centered and cranky and annoying in that way, well, you just have to learn to let that go. That was like we did, like I said the first time, you have to let those people be who they are. And you spend less time with them. You connect to the parts you can connect to, because even if they're a raving maniac on one subject, you can ask them about their children and, what kind of dog they have. And you can find positive things to talk to them about to where you can be friends. Probably superficial friends, but at least friends enough to get along where you have to get along, like in places where you work. So be friendly. Don't write people off because you disagree with their ideas. Let them have their ideas. Find something positive to talk about. Those are words that are very easy to say and a lot harder to do. Like most of the words that I say, it's the big picture is easy to intellectualize, but to actually become it and live it is a much harder thing. So take it just a little bit at a time. Just a little bit at a time. Be non-judgmental. Don't judge people as being wrong or right. Just interact with them. Deal with what you can use and ignore what you can't use. It's not your job to teach them and make them better unless they ask you. If they ask you to help them be better, well, then step right up to that and try to do it very slowly. Otherwise, they'll take that back. I want you to leave them alone. But take it very slowly and you can be helped. But as soon as they're full of it and done with it, then leave them alone. You can't push. They have to change themselves. So if that's your life, let's say you work at a job and you have to work with a lot of people who you disagree with on life in general, but they're not asking you to do anything that's illegal or immoral or unethical, well, now you just have to deal with that or find another job. But deal with it positively. Don't go home fussing and fuming and griping about it. Don't start arguments. Don't get in arguments with them. Don't become part of the problem. Stay positive. And if it's just the environment you just can't stand, then it's probably not the environment that's the problem. The problem is you. You got a lot of ego. You got a lot of beliefs of your own and a lot of ego. And these people just irritate you because they're not like you. And remember, everybody sees themselves as the gold standard of goodness, the gold standard of rightness, and the gold standard of what other people should do. Everybody sees themselves that way. Yes, even those people that you know are stupid and completely wrong, they see themselves that way, and they look at you and think you're stupid and completely wrong. So everybody feels that if people would just do this and do that, they could fix everything. Life would be so much better in their homes, their families, school, at work, if everybody would just do it the way they see that it should be done. Everyone thinks that way. So it's not true. It's not that you really know what everybody should do. We just think we do.